The night, everything changed. My 8-year-old daughter Hope called the first number in my phone, and a billionaire answered, and I need you to really sit with that for a second, because this is not a cute Hallmark setup. This is not rich man saves poor family. This is me on the kitchen floor shaking, lightheaded, my body empty, because I'd been giving my kids every scrap of food and pretending I wasn't hungry, and my girls standing there crying because they thought I was dead. So yeah, that happened. And that one scared little phone call turned into a whole life. I didn't even believe I was allowed to want. You know what I mean? My name is Belle. I'm a single mom of 3. Hope is 8. Faith is 6. Grace is 4. Their dad, my husband, died a few years back, and I held it together for a long time. I worked. I budgeted. I did the thing where you water down juice and make ramen feel like dinner by calling it noodle night. I did all of it until I couldn't. I lost my job in a restructuring at Mitchell Enterprises, some cold business decision shown. In a boardroom. I wasn't invited into. I walked out with a severance folder and a fake "we're so sorry" smile. And I told myself I'd bounce back because that's what strong women do, right? We bounce, we hustle, we figure it out. Except sometimes there's nothing left to figure. I applied everywhere. I cleaned offices at night. I sold everything that wasn't nailed down. Then the car got repossessed. The rent fell behind. The fridge went empty, and I started lying to my daughters. Mommy already ate baby, you go ahead, while my stomach felt like it was chewing itself from the inside out. And then one afternoon, I just dropped my body, quit like, nope, we're done, I only know what happened next. Because Hope told me later, she said, I was on the floor by the fridge, I wasn't answering. Faith started screaming, Grace kept shaking my shoulder, whispering, Mama, wake up, it's not funny. And Hope did the only thing she could think to do. She grabbed my phone, scrolled through my recent calls, and hit the first name that wasn't a bill collector, which happened to be Jordan Mitchell. Yes, that Jordan. The CEO, the man who fired me, she said. Mr. Jordan, you don't know me, I'm... Hope, my mom, Belle used to work for you. She's on the floor, and she's not waking up, and we haven't eaten. Please don't be mad. And do you know what he said back? Because Hope remembered it word for word, he said, calm, like it was a normal Tuesday. Sweetheart, lock the door, I'm on my way. Not I'll send someone, not call 911, just I'm coming. I woke up in the hospital with an IV in my arm, and a salt taste in my mouth, and a doctor saying phrases like severe malnutrition, and organ stress, and another day, and you might not have made it. And the first thing out of my mouth wasn't thank you. It wasn't what happened, it was, where are my girls? Don't take my girls. Because when you're broke, you live with that fear sitting on your chest all the time, like if anybody sees how bad it is, they're gonna say you're unfit, and take the only thing you still have, and I will never forget Jordan's voice, right? Then he said, Belle, they're eating, they're safe, they're with my assistant, and they are not going anywhere without you. And he sounded angry about it, like offended. I'd even think he'd try something. And that was the first moment I actually looked at him like a person and not a paycheck. Then he laid it out plain, no warm-up, no PowerPoint. Here's what's happening, he said. You're not going back to that apartment tonight. I have a house sitting empty. You're moving in with the girls. It's safe, it's clean, and the fridge is full second. You're not jobless anymore. I want you back at Mitchell, not in the same role, higher assistant financial controller. Better pay benefits from day one part-time until you're medically stable, full-time when you're ready, and third, the back rent and the eviction notice are handled. Just like that, like he's ordering lunch, and I laughed in his face, which probably looked crazy because I still had tape on my arm from the IV, but I couldn't help it. I said, I'm not your project. I'm not some charity story for you to feel like a hero about. And I'm gonna be real with you, a lot of men would have gotten offended and walked right there. A lot of men only like saving you if you cry and say thank you, the way they pictured it in their head. But he didn't flinch. He said, "I'm not playing hero, Belle. I'm cleaning up a mess I helped make. I laid you off, and I told myself it was just business. Well, this is what just business did to you, so no, I'm not walking away." And then the doctor, like she was reading from a script. "I did not approve," goes, "Your daughter saved your life, Miss Patterson. If she hadn't called when she did, you might not have woken up." And I just lost it all. That anger, all that pride, all that. "I'm fine, we're fine, it's fine," it cracked. And I cried. Not cute crying either, shaking, can barely breathe. And Jordan just sat there, steady, holding my hand, like this was all already decided, like I was already his responsibility. Now here is where most people say, wow. And then everything was magically fixed, slow down. Because the next part is the part nobody really talks about. The part after someone rescues you, where you have to decide if you're gonna let yourself be helped, or if you're gonna burn the help down because you don't want to owe anybody. He took us to that house, this little 2-story place with pale blue siding and a tiny porch swing, nothing crazy. But to my girls it looked like a palace, and I'm standing in the doorway, barely holding myself up. And Faith opens the fridge and gasps, because there is actual food, and Grace is spinning in circles in her own room yelling, "I have a bed, I have a bed." And Hope, my serious one, just looks at me and whispers, "Do we get to stay, or do we have to leave when the time's up?" And I look at him because I don't even know the answer, and he says without blinking, "As long as you want, there's no timer on safety." And you could feel the air change in that moment, like their little shoulders dropped 2 inches. And listen, it wasn't just a house, it wasn't just money. Money can buy you a night. It can't buy you peace. Peace is someone showing up every single day after they say, "I got you." And he showed up for everything. School pickup, first, grocery run, paperwork, job onboarding, bedtime stories, all the stuff. No one claps for because it's not cinematic. But that's actually the real part, you know what I mean? And my girls started to heal in ways I didn't even realize they were hurting. Grace stopped waking up crying about being hungry. Faith stopped hiding granola bars under her pillow. Just in case. And Hope, who'd been walking around like a tiny grown-up for months, guarding me, guarding her sisters, watching the door, she actually laughed like a kid. And one night at dinner, she drew a picture of the 4 of them and handed it to him and said, "This is us." And the way he looked at that paper, you'd think she'd given him the deed to the whole city. Now here's the twist, because every time something good starts feeling safe, trouble smells it like blood in the water. His ex-wife showed up, and I mean literally showed up at my door, nails, perfect hair, perfect voice like ice. And she looks me up and down like I'm a stain and goes, "So, you're Belle, the charity?" And Jordan's right there behind her saying, "Vanessa, stop." And she keeps going. Do you have any idea how this looks? He's the CEO of a major company, and now people are saying he's shacking up with some woman he fired and playing daddy to her kids. The board thinks he's distracted. Investors are whispering. He's lost focus, and let me just warn you, because I actually do know him, he has a savior complex. He finds a sad story, he throws money and attention at it. He feels like a hero, and then he moves on to the next sad story. So enjoy it while it lasts. And then she smiles at me like she's being helpful, like she's doing me a favor by calling me replaceable to my face. I wish I could tell you I laughed at her and said, "Girl, please," I didn't. I went quiet because the ugliest part of what she said was the part I'd already been scared to ask. I was already lying awake at night thinking, does he love me, or does he love saving me if I wasn't broke and desperate? When he walked in, would he have even seen me, or am I just his good deed that got out of hand? And I threw that at him after she left. I said, "Tell me right now, am I just your project?" And I watched his face like my whole life depended on his answer. And do you know what he said? He didn't get defensive. He didn't try to flip it on me. He just said, "Belle, I'm in love with you, Not because you needed saving, because of who you are. And if you tell me to leave, I'll leave, but I'm not walking away because I'm bored. I'm not built like that. And I still told him we needed space, which just wrecked him, and he actually respected it, which wrecked me, and that week nearly broke my daughters. Hope shut down, stopped sleeping. Faith cried herself to exhaustion one night and said, "Did we make Mr. Jordan mad?" And Grace sat on the couch waiting with her shoes on like he was going to walk in any second and carry her to the park. And I sat there feeling like maybe I had just ripped stability away from my own kids because I was scared of being called a charity case, scared of being the girl who took help. And that was the moment I realized something kind of ugly. Vanessa wasn't telling me the truth about him. She was telling me the truth about me. She was using my own shame against me, so I called him late, voice shaking. And I said, "Listen, I was wrong. I let somebody else make me doubt what I know in my gut. I miss you. The girls miss you. If this is guilt for you, walk away for real. But if this is real, if you choose us, we need you home." And when I say he was at my door 20 minutes later, I mean 20. Hope ran to him and grabbed him so hard I thought she'd snap his ribs. She whispered into his shirt, "You came back. You said you wouldn't leave." And he held her and said, "I'm not leaving again, not unless your mama kicks me out. And even then, I'm going to argue my case." Then he looked at me right there in the hallway, and he pulled a ring out of his pocket like he'd been carrying it around, waiting for me to stop fighting my own happiness, and he said, "Belle, I don't want to be the guy who drops off groceries sometimes. I want mornings and homework and dentist bills and all of it. Will you marry me? Will you let me be here as your partner? And if they'll have me as their dad?" And I just broke. I said yes, of course I said yes. And all three girls were hiding on the stairs, watching. And Grace, the little one, goes, "So do we get pancakes every day now?" Which honestly might be the realest reaction to a proposal I've ever heard. We got married in the backyard of that blue house with folding chairs and dollar store flowers. Nothing fancy, just people who loved us. And Hope asked if she could say something, and she stood there in her little yellow dress and said, "6 months ago, I called a stranger and asked for help. Now he's my dad. I think I did a good job picking. And there wasn't a dry eye anywhere, even from the people who judged us. And here's how we ended it. We didn't just take the win and disappear into some cute, rich, happily ever after fantasy. We built something. We opened Hope's Haven, named after the 8-year-old who made that call. And we help families the way we needed help, not just money, but groceries tonight, a safe bed tonight. Somebody to sit across from you and say, "You're not weak, you're not trash, you are not a bad mother, because you're drowning. You're a good mother, because you're still fighting." And I sit with women who look exactly like I did on that kitchen floor, and I tell them the truth. Asking for help is not failure, it's survival. So let me ask you the thing people always argue about in the comments, and I want you to be real with me. No filters, no, I'd never let that happen to me. Tough guy talk. If you were 8 years old, and your mom was on the floor, and your little sisters were crying, and you had one number to call, would you make that call? And if someone answered and actually showed up and stayed? Is that charity or is that family? Tell me what you think. Tell me where you're watching from and how late it is right now. And drop your story if you've ever had to swallow your pride just to keep the people you love alive, because I promise you, somebody else listening right now needs to hear they're not the only one.